Welcome to today's session on how generative AI is reshaping the developer ecosystem. We are at an exciting point in technology where AI is not just assisting but actively transforming the way developers work, collaborate, and innovate. In this section, we will delve into AI tools like GitHub Copilot and how they change our day-to-day development practices. How these tools streamlining everything from coding till the documentation, testing, and beyond. I'm Ambily and I'm excited to be your speaker today. I currently work as a cloud solution engineer at GitHub, where I focus on empowering developers through innovative tools and technologies. Especially my focus is GitHub and the AI product associated with the DevOps ecosystem. As a YouTuber, author, and speaker, I'm passionate about helping developers unlock their full potential, especially with GitHub Copilot and a streamlined AI-driven platform. Let us get started. This session will take you on a journey through the transformation of programming, from its origin in binary code to today's AI-driven advancement. We will start looking at how programming evolved over the time, explaining how natural language processing and modern AI is driving the momentum. Then we will delve into GitHub Copilot, a tool that shifts the developer's focus from writing syntax to understanding intent, allowing us to build solutions faster and with great accuracy. Finally, we will move to the future of developer. What areas, roles, skills the developer need to possess for the future AI-driven ecosystem. Let us start with understanding the programming or the transformation of programming from the first generation till the fifth generation. We begin with the first generation, that's a binary code, where we focus more on zeros and ones. Later we move to the second generation, that is assembly code, where we given symbolic instructions almost matching the written statement, but it's all command driven. Later, as part of the third generation, we developed high-level languages. These languages made programming more easy, more manageable. We are able to get the languages like Java and C. Later, as part of fourth generation, we got the task-specific languages, the languages dedicated or specialized for specific tasks, something like database management tasks, Lisp for the AI development or ML development. Finally, we reached to the fifth generation, that is the natural language processing or NLP, where we are staying today. This level allows for human-like interactions with computers, enabling them to understand and respond to human language. Tools like GitHub Copilot leverage NLP to assist developers by interpreting natural language prompts and generating codes or the associated requirements. This essentially bridges the gap between human intent and machine execution. This progression from binary to NLP illustrates how programming languages have evolved from basic low-level commands, that is 0 and 1s, to more context-specific or intent-driven languages like NLP. Let us look a little closer on the day of NLP and AI in programming. With modern AI tools, not only developers, everyone can use NLP and AI to accomplish various tasks. As developers, we can now write code using plain English, bypass all the complex syntax and technical intricacies. This allows them to communicate intent directly to the AI, which then generate necessary code and save time and reduce the errors. AI and NLP automate repetitive tasks. That's the first step be taken in the NLP world. How to reduce the maintained repetitive tasks. To help the developers quickly produce boilerplate or the repetitive nature of code. They can also handle now common coding tasks like writing functions, generating tests, debugging, documentation, and number of other areas. This shift from the fourth generation of languages, that is a task-specific languages, to NLP-based languages, allowed the developers to focus more on logic, problem solving, and creative aspect of programming rather than thinking about what's at syntax, technical details, and etc. This is a significant step forward, and it required some kind of skill development which we discuss in a later stage. So before going to understand what kind of skills required for the future developers, let us dive into GitHub Copilot. GitHub Copilot is a tool that redefines how we approach the coding, shifting the focus from the syntax to the developer's intent. Traditionally, we used to focus more on learning programming languages, syntax, frameworks, etc. But GitHub Copilot is designed to understand the what and why behind the code rather than just the how. With the Copilot, you can write the prompt in a detailed prompted requirements which describe the desired outcome. Then the AI interprets that requirements or the intent behind that requirement and generate the relevant code. This allows developers to focus more on higher level goals and business logic instead of syntax details. So now GitHub Copilot is bridging the gap between human language and the code, enabling everyone to be a developer. Anyone with a good understanding on your requirement, business scenarios, you can code. You can generate a new software. This event empowers developers to think more creative and strategic about their projects. So let us have a simple demo on how the Copilot helping you transform this shift, the focus from syntax to intent, how it empowers the developers to work more efficiently by centering on what they want to achieve rather than how to code. Simple demos start with understanding the requirements with the Copilot. It's not only code generation. Beyond the code generation, Copilot is able to interpret the requirements, give specific business rules and industry standards. Based on industries, you may have different standards defined, like the healthcare have a different standard, government sector have another set of standards. Let we move to a simple code generation based on your intent. Provide the intent, where the developers focus on what needs to be done instead of how to do it. Copilot also plays a major role in generating other supportive codes like the unit test or the performance testing or functional testing. We will look quickly on how to generate unit tests with Copilot and move forward to a more intent-driven design and feature development. As a final step, we do the documentation with the help of Copilot, a detailed documentation or the comments as part of the code, and generate the PR summaries. One of the important steps to merge your work to the main and push to the production. Every project starts with the requirements. Developers need to understand the requirement. Most of the time, the requirements will be captured in the form of a task or a issue, followed by a couple of comments, decisions making, everything. For a developer, it is very important to understand the summary of these entire discussions. Here, Copilot is able to extend the support to generate quickly the summary of maybe 100 or 200 different comments, the proposed requirement, impact of this requirement, and what's the next steps. This helps the developers to understand what exactly the task at hand. Not only the summary, Copilot is there to help you understand further your requirements. You can ask various questions related to your requirements to Copilot, where the Copilot will help you to understand the requirements a little more in details. It may be something related to the project plan, the risk identified, the decisions taken over this particular requirements. Even you can think about requirements like understanding whether a duplicate issue is exists, a related feature is exists. Copilot is there to help you with each of these activities. Once the requirements are clear, you can as a developer move to the coding area. Copilot supports various IDEs including VS Code. Not only IDEs, Copilot supports the browser-based interface as well. As a developer, either you can use the chat feature for getting the result along with the selection of multiple different models. I'm going ahead with the 01 preview right now. Copilot is not only restricted to this chat feature, it can generate the code based on your prompt as part of the code base itself. Here, based on our requirement, Copilot generated the code. You can review the code and take the code into consideration. Copilot came up with a lab size of 15, and let us see any solution is possible for this particular combination. As you can observe that Copilot defined the solution path with a 15 lab size. Change the lab size to 40 and generate a new lab. Cool. It's able to generate the lab, and based on the same algorithm, either you can go with a depth first or breadth first, which algorithm you select, and go for generation of the solution. Visualizing the generation of the solution. This entire lab escape system is defined using a single prompt, which captured the end-to-end aspect. I have specified the prompt clearly what exactly we are looking at. So as a developer, we need to have this new skill set, how to articulate our requirement clearly to the AI system. Once you define it clearly and you are confident on your selection of the model, you will be able to achieve almost complete solution. Copilot is not only working on this chat interface. As a developer, sometimes we look for support in the ID itself. If I want to add an else portion here, and as you can observe that Copilot is coming up with some kind of suggestions. There are two suggestions. I can move between both the suggestions and take it out. It is not mandatory to provide the prompt in the chat. As a developer, if you feel comfortable in continuing development, start typing or give the commented requirements. Copilot is able to generate it. Now we completed the code development. The next step is the unit testing, one of the biggest area of a development cycle. We should ensure that the developed code is meeting the code quality requirement and functional requirement through various test cases. So I'm going back to the GPT-4 model and asking Copilot to generate test cases for one of my method. It's an Angular method using the / commands. You can use either the / commands or you can use prompt for generating the unit test. Here Angular based unit test is generated based on the selected method, the add property, and it's provided different set of data, sample data for testing this particular method. Similarly, if I want to generate the unit test for the entire file altogether, I can specify their test #file, which file I need the property controller. So generate the unit test cases for this particular file, which consists of multiple methods. It's an API class with multiple methods. Copilot came up with set of test cases starting with the hello world API endpoint, get, post and everything. And some places it's used the mocking as well. It's understand that there is a dependency on the DB set. Instead of going directly to the DB set, it's mocked that area with the properties. the appropriate mocking is applied so that the unit test case will be properly validate the functionality implemented as part of this endpoint method. Once we complete the unit testing, obviously we look for the enhance your code quality in terms of readability aspect. Comment my selection. So I have only one method selected. I want to comment only that method. Provide a inline comments which gives a proper readability for my code. The Copilot comments are context-aware comments. It takes in consideration of the method and the corresponding classes and provide comments for a block of code. Here it specified the property entity ID for each image URL, save all changes to the database, returns the response. So it's provided a detailed comments. Let us generate the API documentation for hash editor. So here I am using another context variable hash editor indicating the currently opened file. The documentation is an API documentation which I am expecting, and as you observe, the Copilot came up with a detailed API documentation which discuss about each of the endpoint, the request format and the response. Based on the project and the requirement, you can ask Copilot to document your project, the overall project, for your README file or for a leadership presentation. Now coming to the code generation again, it's not only simple code generation. Copilot is able to understand high-level architecture patterns and also domain specifications. You can specify that you need the code aligned to a specific domain altogether. Here, we are using the Copilot for a microservices development. This time, it's taken the context of the current file, that's a C# file, and defined the microservices pattern using C#. But if I switch to the TS1 and ask Copilot the same question again, this time you can see that the microservices setup will use the Node.js approach. Copilot is context aware and also it's understand the architecture patterns based on your high-level descriptions. As a developer, we drill down to the requirements with the help of Copilot and generated the code, generated unit testing and documentation. Now the code is ready for merging with the main code base. Let us see how we can take the help of Copilot as part of your PR. The first concern with the PR is generation of PR summary. You may have done a lot of code changes. It's difficult for us to capture each and every changes as part of the PR. Copilot is extending its help to define and capture all the changes as part of a PR summary. Once you generate the PR, Copilot play multiple roles. You can just add Copilot as one of the reviewers, or you can use Copilot to review the file changes. In the file changes, you can take the help of Copilot to explain the changes which is part of this PR. Let us see how Copilot coming up with the code review recommendations. Recommendations are captured here. The SQL query is constructed using string concatenation that leads to SQL injection. So you need to change that one. If you are fine with the recommended changes in terms of converting this string concatenation with the parameterized queries, you can commit these changes directly into the code base and resolve the conversation. Copilot is not only supporting these 5 different stages of development activities. As a developer, you can leverage the power of GitHub Copilot in various other areas. The developers needs to master the art of translating complex programming tasks into natural language commands. That's the ultimate requirement or skill set required for a future developer. How he can articulate the requirements in a more systematic natural language commands, embed the NFRs as part of this thing. This required not just technical skills but an understanding of AI's strengths and limitations, knowing when to use AI when human intervention is essential. Developers also needs to adapt to a prompt-based approach on the outcomes and how to revise the prompt based on AI feedbacks. Moreover, developers should understand the AI's applicability means optimizing workflows in a complex AI ecosystem. The developers also needs to build the ability to understand multiple models and how he can leverage the various models. The future is awaiting. GitHub recently released an NLP-based app development platform called GitHub Spark. Let us have a peek into the future of app development. I'm asking Copilot to develop a small game based on my requirements. All my requirements are captured in natural language, where the AI will interpret my requirements based on the intent I have passed. Our app is ready for trial. Let us have a play of these things. Winner is a cat right now. You can revise your apps by providing additional requirement in terms of what exactly you are looking at. Let us see the new players in action. I have cow and elephant is going to play this particular game now. This is how the future of app development. The requirements are passed in terms of natural language, and AI is generating the code behind the scene, come up with different iterations as well. Moreover, it supports all kind of models here. We used Cloudy for this particular experiment. GitHub Sparks give an early preview to the future of development. Thank you for being part of today's session. If you have any further questions and would like to connect with me, please reach out to me on LinkedIn at AmbliKK or through my YouTube channel Tech Drill, available at AmbliKK. Thank you again for your time and participation today. As we continue to embark the power of AI and automation in development, let us stay curious, keep exploring, and innovate together. Have a great day.